Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 881 for the 24th of August, 2025. Richard Saunders coming to you from Sydney, Australia, where it has been raining heavily all of last week. Potholes are everywhere. A bit of blue sky yesterday and today is a welcome relief. And of course, the bluer the skies, the more chance you have of spotting alien spacecraft as they swing by to abduct you. And we're going to be looking at that today in the Skeptic Zone. Reports of alien abductions. How credible are they? Could they possibly be true? And what do they mean for you and me? I'll just look out the window. Some clouds, okay. Anyway, we're going to kick off today with alien abductions. After that, it's You Can Count on Adrienne with Adrienne Hill, and part 2 of Adrienne's interview with Karen Bijkersma, all about online and relationship gurus and all sorts of interesting and possibly questionable advice you can receive online when looking for love or relationships or something like that. Then to round off the show, more alien abductions, but this time we go back into history and we find out what the newspapers from around the world had to say about reports of people being abducted by aliens. A case of UFO. Oh dear! Now, speaking of things from very far away, from out there in outer space, next week we're going to be looking at various predictions and dire warnings about the comet 3I Atlas, which is not really heading our way. It's sort of heading a little bit our way, a little bit on the other side of the sun, far away, and poses no threat. It's going to be sort of near Mars, sort of near Jupiter during its voyage, its journey through our solar system, then out the other side. But of course, the UFO gang brigade, headed by one R.V. Loeb, have convinced themselves that this thing is actually an alien probe. It probably has propulsion of its own. It's changing course. It's got its own light source, blah, 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 blah. On it goes. And by the time it leaves the solar system, we won't hear any more about that. Anyway, that's coming up next week. But now it's time for me to run downstairs. And I wish I could have a Japanese pancake. Oh, they're so good. I'll think about that. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, but there is something coming from the skies. It's water. Yes, at the moment it's pouring and pouring and pouring in Sydney, Australia. We've had days of wet weather, torrential rain, and I think it's going to get worse. And right now, that's the most dangerous thing, I think, coming from the sky because of the flooding and the problems it causes. But we're going to look at another potentially, in some people's minds, worrying, dangerous thing, possibly, coming from the skies, and that is alien spacecraft. Specifically, those spacecraft that abduct people, take them away for whatever reason, and, luckily, bring them back. The idea that extraterrestrial beings who have travelled a very long way are abducting humans has become one of the most enduring elements of the modern UFO myth, folklore, stories. Reports of abductions span decades by now. Cross cultures, although I must say it's normally a Western phenomenon. It's inspired books, films, documentaries, articles, YouTube videos. Yet, despite all the claims of this sort of thing happening, it really does remain unsupported by the evidence. A critical look at the history of these claims, coupled with an analysis of the scale of space and the absence of physical proof, suggests that aliens are probably not, almost certainly not, visiting Earth, especially not to kidnap people out of their beds or off the streets. Now, before the modern UFO phenomena, strange nighttime encounters were often interpreted through the lens of the folklore and religion of the time. In medieval Europe, there were widespread tales of people being taken by fairies, demons, spirits, succubi, this sort of thing. These stories often shared features with modern abduction accounts. Missing time, strange marks on the body, vivid, dreamlike experiences. Now, people have argued that alien abduction, in the modern sense, are more or less reinterpretations of older cultural myths, reshaped for an age of science fiction and space travel. One of the earlier widely publicized alien abduction cases occurred in 1961 in the US with Betty and Barney Hill. Now, they claim to have been taken aboard a spacecraft in New Hampshire. Their account included missing time, medical examinations, telepathic communications with non-human beings. What made their story more significant was not only its detail, but its timing. It emerged during the Cold War, a period of anxiety about technology, space travel, the unknown. The Hills story was widely covered in the media, became the subject of books, and is often considered the prototype for later abduction claims. Following the Hills account, reports of similar alien abductions began to multiply, especially during the 1970s and the 1980s, and into the 90s, the 2000s, but not as many. The 1975 case with Travis Walton, in which a logger in Arizona disappeared for several days and later claimed to be taken aboard a UFO, gained particular notoriety. In 1987, Whitley Strieber's best-selling book Communion popularized the now familiar image of the grey alien, or the greys, as the UFO people call them. You know, the sort of thing I'm talking about. Large eyes, small mouths, similar to what we see in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And it's the comic book, the textbook alien look. You see it on stickers and cartoons and things like that. Around the same time, hypnotic regression therapy became common as a method of, so-called recovering supposed abduction memories. And this sort of hypnotic regression has been widely criticized for being completely and utterly unreliable when recovering old memories. Now, people of a more skeptical outlook might argue that such hypothesis often encourages confabulation, with patients unconsciously, or sometimes maybe maliciously, weaving together cultural imagery, personal anxieties, and leading questions from the therapists. Now, this aligns with the fact that abduction reports vary in detail but share common features that reflect popular science fiction tropes of the time. In this way, abduction stories became self-reinforcing cultural myths, spreading through books, films, television, and especially through the internet. We can look at some of the reasons behind why people are reporting these abductions. Sleep paralysis, for example, is a well-known condition in which a person becomes partially conscious during sleep but can't move, sometimes accompanied by vivid hallucinations of a presence in the room. It's akin to sleepwalking. And maybe you've experienced this. I have experienced sleepwalking once or twice in my life where I didn't know exactly where I was. I was still in a dream, but I found myself out of bed, completely confused as to where I was. Now, of course, we must remember human memory is not like some sort of video camera. It reconstructs. Every time you remember something, your brain is reconstructing what you think or thought the event was like. Under stress or suggestive conditions, individuals can sincerely believe in false memories. I think we all do that, which may be reinforced by cultural imagery of aliens, especially those ones from TV and movies. And then we think, well, sometimes we really can't blame people. If you sincerely remember something clearly, it may not be the case, but you need to rely on that memory nevertheless. It's very difficult to get your head around that sometimes. Now, while abduction stories are compelling on many levels, especially for those people who sincerely believe they were abducted, the case for them collapses under rational scrutiny. First and foremost, no abduction claim has ever produced verifiable physical evidence. Not one nut, not one bolt, not one scrap of alien fabric. There are no alien implants confirmed in people, no credible video or biological samples, no consistent medical findings. And despite a huge percentage of our population now carrying smartphones with high-definition cameras, the evidence of alien visitation is not represented there either. Now we think about the scale of space, the scale of our galaxy, the scale of the universe. Is it even plausible at all that beings from another world could be traveling to visit the Earth? The galaxy, our galaxy, the Milky Way, contains hundreds of billions of stars with many planets in habitable zones, of no doubt. And the odds are, I would suggest, the odds are that somewhere else in our galaxy there is life. What that life is like, we don't know. But I think the sheer scale of numbers involved suggests that there should be life. Whether it has come to be self-aware and spacefaring is another question. The nearest star to us, Proxima Centauri, is over 4 light years away, which, with our current rate of technology, would take tens of thousands of years to reach. And even if we could travel at the speed of light, which is theoretically impossible, of course, it would still take over 4 years to get there. Even traveling at a tiny fraction of the speed of light is incredibly difficult. Now, for an alien civilization to cross such distances would need technology far beyond anything we can currently imagine. And it is widely thought that traveling at the speed of light is impossible, and past the speed of light is more impossible. Well, impossible is an absolute, so as impossible. Another argument, of course, is there is intelligent life on other planets, but they have no hope of ever knowing we're here or ever existed. They could have arisen 1 billion years ago and disappeared, or they might arise in another 1 billion years. And our two civilizations will never share the same timeline. It's likely that the history of alien abduction claims reveals more about human imagination, fear, and the way we interpret strange experiences using current cultural references. From the Hill's account in 1961 to the cultural waves of reports in the 1970s, especially with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the movie, alien abduction stories reflect not extraterrestrial reality, but earthly concerns filtered through the imagery of outer space. That, coupled with people wanting to be different or, in a strange way, to fit in. People join groups dedicated to talking about their abduction experiences, and they sort of find their own tribe in a way. But ultimately, the lack of physical evidence, the vast scale of the universe weigh heavily against the idea that aliens are abducting humans. Until verifiable proof remains, the rational conclusion is that alien abductions are a fascinating cultural myth rather than a true event or true events. In the absence of evidence, the burden of proof remains on those who claim extraterrestrials are visiting Earth. This burden of proof has yet to be met. Well, there we are. Have extraterrestrials ever flown by and visited the Earth? Almost certainly not. Almost certainly not. Of course, it's the theoretical possibility that, is still a little bit tantalizing.
Do you smile at a colleague and they don't smile back, or you send a text to someone and you don't get a reply back, and you go back to your desk and you sit there ruminating and worrying that you've done something wrong? Well, you probably haven't. The person on the phone maybe just got busy, and maybe the colleague that didn't smile back has just been made redundant. This process of thinking that you're at the centre of every transaction with every person is called the spotlight effect. If you'd like to learn how the spotlight effect really impacts on the quality of your day-to-day life, then tune in to the Why Smart Women podcast. See you soon.
You can count on Adrienne with Adrienne Hill.
Hello everyone, this is Adrienne Hill from Skookum Studios in Calgary, Canada. Welcome back to part 2 of my fascinating talk with Karen Bijkersma about her adventures, or should I say misadventures, on Facebook after she experienced a breakup, and she purchased a book online regarding this painful experience.
I started to notice all these copycat coaches who have seen how lucrative it is for these celebrities to do what they do. And so then I was being fed this plethora of much less charismatic copycats recycling some of the same material, but it wasn't as highly polished. Their faces weren't as groomed to attract women. They were much more of a mixed bag. So they were easy to spot, and their recordings, their advertising were not at the same highly polished professional manner. Some of them were quite humorous, and they would come in with catchy headlines. What if your emotional triggers weren't the enemy? It begs the question. Okay, I've been emotionally triggered, so what is the enemy? They pose questions, you want the answers. Here's how to shift from your head to your heart again. But they're posing questions. What if I told you that I can clear your traumatic memories by giving instructions to your brain? Well, yes, I wouldn't mind having my traumatic memories cleared, or at least softened. So they pose these questions, and presumably they have the answers or the capability to deliver on these things. So they're really trying to tap into people's experience and their emotions. So yes, very exploitative.
What you've been talking about so far is part of the light part of this, which is hard to believe. But continue on. Can you tell us some more about this light part?
Yes, for sure. It did seem to come in 2 parts over a 3-month period. There was sort of the first 6 weeks of what I think of as the lighter content, and then halfway through, around the 6-week mark of that 3 months, it did take a really dark turn, and that's fascinating. Facebook sensed that I might be more in need of more in-person group support. My newsfeed kindly offered up a range of some lovely retreats and summits that I might like to attend. So I and other brave women like me could part with their money in exchange for experiences such as the Heart Mind Institute free 5-day online Relationship Wisdom Summit with 35 speakers and free bonuses.
Did you say it was free? That was a free summit?
Well, so they say.
Yeah.
But it's hard to imagine it's free all the way. At some point, we're going to try and get you to part with money. But I thought 5 days, they'd have to pay me. It sounds torturous. And one of those speakers was Deepak Chopra. I had come up with a phrase by now for these gurus that were coming across my screen. And I was looking for the collective noun of gurus, and Wiki Dictionary suggested a prophet of gurus. And I thought, absolutely.
That is brilliant.
No, a prophet of gurus. And at the same time, I was seeing a plethora of gurus.
I'm going with prophet. I love that.
I put it together and put profiteering plethora of gurus. So when I saw Deepak Chopra being offered, I thought, oh, here's the high prophet or the high priest of the profiting plethora of gurus.
Definitely. And my guess is you'd have to pay to see him.
Oh, yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Qualifications.
Wow.
Words that are floating around.
Yeah.
So Facebook took a new tack. Maybe I wasn't up for a seminar, obviously not. Maybe reading was more my jam. I did start getting ads for more relationship books. The books I was being offered were not really legitimate books. They were a bit odd. And then there was another ad with a photo of somebody holding 4 books. And the type said, the headline, 6 books that will teach you more than a psychology degree. And they're holding 4 books. So already, I don't trust them. And no 4 or 6 or really any large volume of books are a substitute for a university degree. So that's very dodgy.
Very much so.
So now Facebook started to bombard me with woo, not through psychology, we tried that, through inner healing, through very woo-woo healing such as vagus nerve healing, parasympathetic nervous system fixes, breathing, heart and mind connection. Use sacred geometry to shape your reality.
Sacred geometry, really?
I love that one. 7-minute chakra tune-up.
Oh, lovely.
Somatic movement, that was interesting, to release trauma. It's all stored in the hips.
Oh.
So need to do these little exercises. The frequency of love tuning fork. Free, apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, lots of sound healing. So this was about halfway into this crazy journey on Facebook, and it does take a turn again from here.
So now we're getting into the dark side.
Now we're getting into the darker side, and I must say there's a little in-between side that leads into the darker side, which is where I think Facebook had decided that, look, they've done all they can. I should be better by now, you know, with my master's in psychology and my $7 life coach certificate and my tuning fork. And what I really need now is just to get back on that dating horse. I wasn't nearly ready. I'm still not. But anyway, I started receiving ads for dating apps, not the conventional mainstream ones. I guess they're not allowed, or they would have been heavily advertised, but every possible alternative to a dating app, such as events. I don't know what you have in Canada and elsewhere, but we have things like City Swoon and Stitch and Meetup, where you can meet people in person. Time Left, sounds a bit ominous. And then Facebook groups, single Australians looking for love. If I wasn't interested in these dating apps and events, there were also dating app gurus to guide me, take my money and provide me with a service. So there were other ads along these lines. Sacred sexuality, open the energy of intimacy. Maybe I was just blocked. Maybe I had a blockage or some cobwebs that needed clearing. And you can tell this is not written for an Australian audience because it says, go on a 21-day liberating journey to root yourself in self-love. Australians will get that. Root yourself is like have sex with yourself. That didn't translate well. So 21-day liberating journey to root yourself. And it had this funny image of this girl sort of peeking through this sort of jungle foliage. And then that led into self-love, sex toys. Being a single independent woman on a 21-day journey to root myself. Self-love. Or maybe just in between dates. Apparently, I need a lot of sex toys. A particular kind of sex toy, not conventional. I especially need one shaped like a lemon, apparently, or an avocado. I don't know why.
So odd.
Fruity. Yeah. It's not bonkers. Everything was bonkers. Oh, of course, I need a lot of anti-aging treatments more than ever.
I need some of those too, but Well,
that was part of the course. Facebook's always hitting me up, being a woman of a certain age. Of course, I always need constant anti-aging treatments and non-invasive cosmetic surgery and gym memberships.
Right.
But now I need more than ever for my dating app photos or for when my ex comes running back to me due to my forward text, which is another heartbreak industry manipulation. And this is where I think it starts really getting dark, is how to manipulate your ex. Yeah, getting back your ex.
Yeah, like magnetizing your man, I think you said. It was so strange.
Some strange dark practices, a sort of dark psychology. And then there's one that's very femme power, femme fatale plan. So really tapping into that trope of femininity, that femme fatale approach, which thank you, Facebook, for calling me that, but I'm not quite that dark and manipulative. So yes, a turn to the dark arts with the 28-day Femme Power Challenge Femme Fatale plan. Ignore him to submission. The silent treatment as one of 7 manipulation tricks. Or ignore him to submission with a 30-day archetype-based, femme fatale transformation plan. And I had this little list, which I just love. Love bombing practice for 2.5 hours. Manipulation tips, 15 minutes. Gaslighting, 25 minutes.
You learn to gaslight.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
And dark psychology, 1.5 hours. And I did wonder if I'd get a bit of a credit for all this dark psychology reading they were giving me, perhaps knock it down to 1.25 or something like that. So, yeah, if that doesn't work, all is not lost. I can magnetize my man.
Wow. And it really does sound a bit like a female version of the red pill.
Absolutely. Yes, that femme fatale trope.
It sounds very toxic. Like, why would they promote this? I don't understand.
It is very toxic. And, men have this great fear of, being pussy whipped.
Yeah.
And his advertising saying, pussy whip him into submission, and that they must be shaking in their shoes. Yeah, it's very much twist on that red pill, femme 50s housewife.
Yeah. It's a twist on that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Become a manhandler. And this is all based on the Michael Fiore information that was very popular when he had these books, make him beg to be your boyfriend, crack the man code, text your ex back, make him worship you. And he was killed in a boating accident in 2014. But this material of his is being recycled and represented. Learn the cheat code for men's mind, cracking the man code. Are you ready to finally manifest the relationship you always wanted? Master the art of texting, how to drive him crazy for you. There's a lot of those master the art of texting ads. And Matthew Coast, one of those gurus, is a copycat of Michael Fiore, but he's taken it to, huge guru status. And I did this whole sort of study on this 4-word text, how to win him back. And of course, if you try and find it,
right,
you can't. It presumably actually doesn't exist, but the internet is a buzz and Reddit is a buzz. What is this 4-word text? So it's very catchy. It's very appealing for people to try and find this magic formula. And again, you need to be funneled down his marketing tunnel. You need to actually watch his YouTube videos. You need to attend his seminars, buy his book. I did find where you can buy his book for $74 US, which is $18.50 per word. Whether or not the 4 words are in there, I don't know. And then there's these copycats who are flogging his book second hand, and we're still assuming the 4 words are in there. $1,736. So that's $434 per word.
For those magic words, yeah. So let's move on to your spiritual healers. That was sort of the next thing that started happening.
Yeah, so went there into love spells and various snake oils for the heartbroken and all kinds of products, a magnetic theory talisman, and the love spell potion, scientifically proven to make men drop to their knees.
Wow.
But there's a couple of reviews for the love potion, Go to Perfume, on Facebook group Stop the Con. So before you buy into any of this, look for reviews because they are there. It does not turn heads. It just robs you of your money. It smells of nothing. Do not buy. Very, very bad company. We didn't buy that, but never fear. The stars will save us. Astrology, of course.
Yep. Tarot cards.
Oh, lots of those. Pick a card with readings by Mia, Professor Mia, when you go into the next level and click on her, Professor of what I don't know. Yeah, to claim a tarot card reading to reveal my ex's inner anxiety and pain. So that's dark.
No, it is dark.
Actually, I did that one. For research, and I didn't receive anything. My favourite of all the tarot ads I saw was one that crossed over with the classic celebrity endorsement. Cindy Lauper is wondering if I want to know if I'm going to strike it rich or meet my soulmate. I can donate $10 or more in support of her True Colours Foundation or even meet her at an upcoming event.
That was legit, correct? Like she's actually doing this?
Well, she's in the ad. You know, if she actually turns up at the event, I don't know if she does the tarot reading. I'm presuming she's just the face of it, really.
Yeah.
But yes, beware the celebrity endorsement. You might not get to shake the hand of your favourite celebrity. That led into Ask Angels and Psychics. Here's a free 21-minute guided angel message with Melanie Beckler. I clicked on the ad, was asked for my email address.
Of course, yep.
Inviting me into the channeling room. There's with a sell for a package at 85% off, and there was an MP3 angel message attached. I was instructed to download to my computer, then transfer to my phone or tablet through iTunes. So that sounded very risky and potentially costly.
Yeah, good idea not to do that one.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I never took it a step further than receiving a message or email.
I'm smart.
A hilarious one. I was almost tempted. Draw your soulmate. Will it be him? Will it be someone new? Who is my soulmate? And where will I meet him within the next 2 weeks or money back guaranteed? And they will send you a drawing. And there's images of, happy couples, and she's holding a drawing of him, and lo and behold, it's the same image. It's the very image of him. There's lots of copycats. In fact, you can even buy a soulmate drawing on Etsy. The reviews for this were hilarious. 1 star, just save your money. I was just curious about the picture. Yeah, I kind of was too. I got a drawing of someone looking like a Ken doll, no resemblance to a real person whatsoever, which has probably been sent to hundreds of customers, followed by ads of unsolicited emails regarding additional services I never asked for. And even worse, 1 star, apparently my soulmate is the serial killer Charlie Brand. It's his twin and old enough to be my dad. Definitely was creepy opening the drawing rather than believable, but was worth a shot. Ha ha. Also, after you pay, you receive another email asking you to pay again. Do not pay. Had nothing but spam emails since, and it's a new email account I use, so be aware of that too. But the thing with this is they get your credit card details.
Right. Yeah, so it's a good thing you didn't get your soulmate drawn. I'm sorry.
So he's still out there undrawn. Sorry, darling. The only reason I'm still single now after all these opportunities is because I haven't been manifesting hard enough. I could manifest my dream guy in 3 weeks, attract your dream man in 20 days, even less than 3 weeks, for only $22 with a Manifest Him masterclass. And manifesting and raising your vibration seem to go hand in hand.
Oh, I'm not surprised to hear that. So could we wrap up the last bit? Because I love to get into that supernatural bit at the very end.
Yes. So, if you haven't used your intuition and your channeling powers and your inner compass and dreamed your man into existence, haven't, felt it in your waters by water dividing, that's one I made up, but if you haven't gone for hypnosis, hypnosio, power of hypnotherapy, and honestly, I would have paid big bucks for a good healthy coma, slept my way through that heartbreak. Yes, the ultimate service, become supernatural. And that would not only cure this, but that would surely cure all ills.
I would think, yeah, that is just a bizarre claim. And it's not cheap either, is it?
It is not cheap. It's not, $7 or 85% off or 97% off just for today. There was an offer, but that was $647 US, which is well over 1,000 Oz. Total value for special limited time only price of 119 US or 187 Oz. Annual membership. But try getting out of that annual membership. And I found it interesting that it's figures like, 647, 119, and I was seeing this a lot. And someone said to me, apparently odd numbers are psychologically or mentally somehow more compelling than even numbers. So there's something for somebody to look into there. If they had started with become supernatural, I could have just jumped straight to that. And I wouldn't have had to consider all these crazy alternatives.
Yeah, it saved you a lot of time, right?
So we could all do that and save a lot of time.
And I think the worst part of all this is it's targeting vulnerable people.
Absolutely, which I was. And I was seeking support and information. And I felt terribly exploited. It was actually quite upsetting, quite distressing on top of what I was going through. And I can only imagine what it's like if you're researching something, life-threatening like cancer, or if you're seriously depressed.
Exactly.
Or have some kind of ongoing struggle, like a disability, you're seeking ongoing support. And yes, you're going to be bombarded with woo. It's so predatory.
Yeah, it's terrible. Thank you so much for joining me, Karen. And can you tell the listeners how we can find you? I understand you've written a few books, so how can we find those?
You can find my presentation on the topic on Skeptic's Cafe, The Heartbreak Industry is what it's called. And I have written a couple of books. The most recent is the book Every Woman Needs to Read. Women speak out about gendered domestic violence, 28 stories of survival. What is also really valuable in this book, it's got a whole section in point form, your A to Z guide of relationship red flags.
That's important.
Exactly. We just need to be forewarned and forearmed.
Yes. And we'll make sure we include a link to your talk in the show notes. And if you want, we can even do a link to how to get your books. Would that work?
That would be great. A link to my website would be fantastic. Yes. I'm
Excellent.
currently trying to catch up and upload these talks on there as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you so much for interviewing me today. It's great to get this message out there.
Yes. Until next time, this is Adrienne Hill from Calgary, Canada, with Karen from Melbourne. Did I say that right?
Absolutely. Yes. Well done. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Rosenblood, host of Podcast for Inquiry, the official podcast of the Centre for Inquiry Canada. Every 2 weeks, I bring you a conversation with an expert on some complex subject, which we discuss with intelligence and nuance. The goal is that you come away with more than just a surface-level understanding, as well as an appreciation for a genuine spirit of inquiry. If your intellectual curiosity extends to science, religion, philosophy, economics, humanism, politics, and more, subscribe to Podcast for Inquiry today. Available anywhere you get your podcasts. A video form is also available on YouTube on the Centre for Inquiry Canada's channel. I look forward to welcoming you to the inquiring community.
It's time to look once again into those digital archives of newspapers from around the world. normally at trove.nla.gov.au, but today, once again, we're looking at Google newspapers. And in keeping with our general theme of things of interest to skeptics, let's look once more unto the heavens above, to see if we can spot any UFOs. Well, people have been spotting UFOs for decades and decades, and if we go back some decades now to the year 1989, on the 6th of June, in The Age from Melbourne, Australia. A story by Gareth Borum, Wanted, one fair dinkum alien kidnap. And fair dinkum is Australian slang meaning true. Have you been abducted by an alien lately? If so, a group of Adelaide UFO researchers would like the details. UFO Research Australia is eager to hear from anyone who may have encountered aliens recently. The group is puzzled that Australia is sadly lagging behind the United States and Europe in reported cases of UFO abductions. The group's administrator, Mr. Vladimir Godik, said more research needed to be done into the subject, and his group needed to hear about any, quote, little green men, end quote, encounters in Australia. We need some stories that we can really get our teeth into ourselves, rather than relying on the stories that come from overseas. It seems from the lack of stories that this sort of thing doesn't seem to happen in Australia. Mr. Godik said UFO Research Australia was not committed to a dogmatic view that UFOs existed and preferred to take a scientific approach to sightings and abductions. The group was set up about 5 years ago to study extraterrestrial life and, according to Mr. Godik, has representatives in all states. The research officer, Mr. Keith Basterfield, has spent the past 20 years studying UFO sightings in Australia and has written a book on the subject. A lot of these sightings can be outrageous, but there are enough reported to be taken quite seriously. A lot of people don't report abductions because they are a very personal thing to be talking about publicly. Mr. Basterfield estimated that there would be 1,000 UFO sightings in Australia each year, compared with tens of thousands in the US. Mr. Godik said local reports of UFO sightings and abductions would give the group the opportunity to investigate their validity fully. It requires a lot of real detective work, gathering together bits and pieces of information. I would say we would know more about it than the average scientist. The group secretary, Mrs. Pony Godik, said some scientists believed in alien life forms. Others dismissed sightings and abductions as psychological quirks. And now let's go to the Manila Standard from the Philippines, dated the 9th of December, 1997. And this is a story would appear to be from Reuters. Aliens abduct humans for breeding, says UFO confab. Acapulco, Mexico. Extraterrestrials are secretly abducting humans for use in hybrid breeding experiments and inserting implants into their bodies, UFO experts said Sunday at the Second World UFO Congress. Of all the claims about alien visits to Earth, stories about abductions are perhaps the most controversial, both for their astonishing nature and the passion with which believers profess them to be true. The notion that humans are routinely abducted in their sleep, taken off to alien spacecraft, and then returned silently to their beds carried a high level of acceptance among experts attending the meeting. Most victims cannot remember details of their abductions until they were brought out of them under hypnosis, they said. In some cases, women are impregnated, carry the hybrid fetus through a short gestation, and then abducted again to give birth. Bud Hopkins, billed as, quote, a pioneer in the genre, end quote, of investigating alien abductions, told the meeting. The kidnapping aliens take two forms. Cases in the US involve short extraterrestrials with white skin, big eyes and large bald heads, shaped like an inverted pear, Hopkins said. In Ecuador, they are taller with round heads and olive green skin, Rodriguez said. Well, that's quite a worrying report. And now from the Albany Herald, dated the 26th of April 1987, And also on this page is the local cinema listings. We could have, in 87, we could have watched The Aristocats, Project X with Matthew Broderick, Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol, Raising Arizona, Lethal Weapon, and Blind Date. Nevertheless, the story is investigator offering $10,000 reward for UFO kidnap victim. New York, UPI, and that is United Press International. A person who claims to have been abducted by an unidentified flying object can earn a quick $10,000 if the kidnapping can be verified. A private investigator challenges anyone to prove a kidnapping by extraterrestrial beings and, if convinced, he will pay $10,000 to the victim. Philip Klass, a member of the group that debunks claims of the paranormal, said Thursday he was responding to 2 recent published books that detailed alleged abductions of people by aliens from UFOs. I'm doing this because there is enough in this world to worry about without having to worry about fantasy, he said in a telephone interview from his home in Washington, D.C. One of the books, Communion, an account by Whitley Strieber of his own alleged abduction by aliens, has reached number 2 on the bestseller list. The other, Intruders, by Bud Hopkins, is a collection of accounts from people who claim creatures from UFOs subjected them to such indignations as rape and abortion. Klass, who has investigated UFOs for years for the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, said none of the kidnappings reported in the books were ever reported to the FBI. He said people who knowingly report spurious kidnappings to the FBI are subject to a $10,000 fine and a 5-year prison sentence. And now from a newspaper called the Herald Jounal, dated the 10th of May 1990. UFOers share their alien tales. And I think this was originally published in the Orlando Sentinel. Miami Beach, Florida. Believing isn't easy. Dozens of card-carrying UFOologists converged on the beach this weekend, searching for flying saucers over the moonlit ocean, but nary a one appeared. Not even Ed Walters, the panhandle builder who wrote a book on big-eyed little aliens who landed in his yard, could lure one to the crowd. But not to worry. The 200 or so people attending the 27th Annual National UFO Conference know good and well they can't summon alien beings at will. You can't contact them. They will contact you. Once they get your brain frequency, they can come right in, said Josephine Jensen, 72, of Las Vegas, Nevada. A retired corrections officer, Jensen should know. She was driving down a New Jersey road 36 years ago when a voice in her head told her to turn left. She soon found herself in a park talking to a man-like creature who travelled to Earth from another galaxy in the form of light. I looked into his 2 blue eyes, and they became 2 black holes that drew me through, and I was out in space, experiencing freedom like I had never known before, and never known since, she said. Damn the debunkers. Jensen was right at home this weekend, mingling with dozens of people who share her abiding conviction that humans are not alone in the universe. Now, there are skeptics, even at UFO conventions. Not everybody who attends accepts everyone else's story. A lot of people, including conference chairman James Mosley, 58, of Key West, Florida, real estate man, don't buy the kidnap experience. Indeed, investigators of unidentified flying objects, 2,000 or so who belong to the Mutual UFO Network, say military exercises, astronomical phenomena, or even airplanes account for 93% of UFO sightings. And finally, we head for the Dispatch, dated the 20th of October, 1973. Rash of UFO sightings continue. A story by United Press International. Two Los Angeles area space experts agree that many people who report seeing unidentified flying objects, UFOs, are seeing something, but question that UFOs are extraterrestrial spaceship under the control of non-human creatures. People are seeing something. They're not hallucinating, said William J. Kaufman, director of the Griffith University. It's also clear that they are seeing things for which standard, run-of-the-mill explanations do not suffice. But just because they see something strange in the skies doesn't mean that the something strange is a vehicle controlled by alien intelligence. That just doesn't follow. A rash of UFO sightings began 2 weeks ago in Mississippi, when two shipyard workers catfishing on the Pascagoula River reported that they were kidnapped by silver-skinned creatures with pointed ears, who took them aboard a cigar-shaped spaceship and examined them. There have been hundreds of other sightings in states from coast to coast. Governor John Gilliam of Ohio reported seeing a UFO made of amber light just outside Ann Arbor, Michigan. Deputies reported chasing 5 amber-coloured sources, flitting just above treetop level in Louisiana. Many of the UFOs have turned out to be weather balloons. Some of the sightings turned out to be hoaxes. Philip J. Klass, a senior editor with the magazine Aviation Week and Space Technology, who has written one book putting down UFOs, UFOs Identified, and is currently writing a sequel, said, "There is simply not a shred of physical evidence for UFOs after more than 25 years of sightings. Quite literally, not a shred, in any of the tens of thousands of UFO sightings that have been reported, that you could take before the National Academy of Science and ask, have you ever seen its like on Earth?" Danny Brown, a photographer of the Baton Rouge Morning Advocate, said Sunday he photographed with a telescopic lens a strange object that flew over Louisiana State University's packed football stadium Saturday night, touching off a UFO hullabaloo. The object turned out to be a hot air bag with a flickering candle inside that heated the air and carried the bag aloft. Police officer Lawrence Whitman, who was on patrol in the southwest area of Los Angeles early Saturday, when he sighted a bluish-white light streak, but he thought twice about reporting it. He said he didn't report the mysterious light streak, which fell to Earth in seconds, because last year he and another officer were reprimanded for allegedly dreaming up the so-called watermelon hoax. They reported that a woman dropped a 51-pound watermelon on her boyfriend. But Whitman decided to report Saturday's incident after half a dozen other officers acknowledged they also had seen the light streak. And the accompanying photograph here is of two young women standing somewhere, it's hard to tell, but above their heads are giant bags, like balloons almost. And the caption reads, UFO? ? Zella Matherine left and her sister Teresa hold an object they and their brother John captured after a 90-minute chase last Saturday night. It consists of 2 helium-filled plastic bags with a crinkled piece of aluminium foil dangling from the cord linking them together. The object puzzled residents of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and was chased by the youths who saw it descend near the governor's mansion. Well, there we go. Decade after decade after decade of hopeful reports about people being abducted by aliens, whisked away, experimented upon and brought back safely to Earth. You don't hear so much about that anymore, I must say. Maybe the aliens are simply fed up with experimenting on humans. Some interesting reports, which only just goes to show that when you go to the digital archives, no matter where they are around the world, type in your search, well, you never know what you might find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast this week, and thank you to those people who continue to support the Skeptic Zone via PayPal or Patreon. Coming up soon on the Why Smart Women podcast, you will hear our very own Kat McLeod, who was interviewed by Annie McCubbin. Keep an ear and an eye out for that. And also, I'd like to encourage you, if you're in Australia especially, to have a look around and have a think. We are looking for nominations for the Bent Spoon Award for the most preposterous piece of paranormal or pseudoscientific piffle, because the Australian Skeptics Convention is coming up in just a few months, and we need nominations for the Bent Spoon. Now, who is eligible? Well, they really do have to be in Australia to be nominated for the Bent Spoon, and we're looking for individuals or companies, organizations which are promoting something which is, in your opinion, and possibly our opinion, is, beyond the realms of possibility, really, beyond the limits of the laws of physics. So, of course, people like psychics or alt-med practitioners peddling something like homeopathy. Actually, homeopathy peddlers have won in the past. Maybe there's a TikToker who is peddling absolute nonsense here in Australia you might know of. And indeed, even government institutions and television programs have won in the past for promoting nonsense. Maybe you know of a medical device that can't possibly work. Anyway, head for skeptics.com.au and you can submit your nomination for this year's Bent Spoon Award. Now, here's a note for those people in Australia. If you happen to catch the television program Today Extra on the 9 network, tomorrow, the 25th of August, at, I think it's after 9 a.m. or closer to 10 a.m., probably after 9:30, you will see our very own Maynard. And he'll be talking about Xanadu the movie, which he will be presenting next month on Saturday the 13th in Newtown. More information, head for maynard.com.au. Coming up on next week's show, as I mentioned before, we look at the various claims about the comet 3I Atlas. And in the Trove segment, we're going to be looking at poltergeists. I think we've done that before, but it's such an interesting topic. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for episodes and show notes with links going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone on Facebook, X, TikTok and YouTube by clicking the links at our homepage, together with links to support the show financially via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of the Skeptic Zone podcast or any other skeptical organisation. Hello, Maynard here, telling you that you're listening to the amazing, exciting Skeptic Zone podcast with Richard Saunders. Every week he rolls the dice as to whether the show's going to be good or not. Sometimes it comes up snake eyes and you lose, but most of the time you're on a winner with the Skeptic Zone. I always put my money on the Skeptic Zone. Maynard here, playing the extremely exciting dice game. Not since the fall of Rome has anything been this more exciting. Here we go. And I'm going to throw it in here. You've got to guess. Do it 3 times. Here we go. That's 1, and it's a 4. You thought it was a 1 for a moment there. Okay, we'll try it another time. Here we go. Will it be Thunderball or will it come up Never Say Never Again? There's one for all the Sean Connery fans out there. Looks like a
3.
3. Rich, the voice in my head from Richard Saunders is telling me
It's
a 3.
way back here in the control box.
Okay, and one more time. Here we go. Will it come up with a License to Kill? Will it come up with The Spy Who Loved Me? Or maybe A View to a Kill? My goodness, it's come up a 6. So if you got all 3 of them, take your underpants off and put them on your head. You're a winner.
Let's do a supplementary.
Oh, and a supplementary. Supplementary. Okay, yeah.
5.
5.
Susan Gerbic.
Susan Gerbick's number. Hello, Susan. There you go. So there you go. I hope you're a winner in the game of life. But if you're listening to the Skeptic Zone, you've only got yourself to blame.
Well, they might not be winners in dice, but they can be winners if they come to Xanadu, Maynard.
That's right. And I'm also reminding you that it's been 45 years ago this month that Xanadu opened in America, and 45 years ago next month when it opened in Australia, to rave reviews like Xanadon't, New York Times, things like that. But it is a great movie. It's a lot of fun, and it does star the binational Olivia Newton-John. English and Australian. She had all the best of both worlds, really. And it's a great movie. Come along on the 13th of September to the Sydney Underground Film Festival, where we'll have a brushed-up U-Beauty 4K version to show you with really good sound. Dancing is allowed. Roller skates aren't, but come along anyway. And afterwards, I'm going to DJ at a venue just next door. So you get a night out, and the gig's free afterwards, because I just love that stuff so much. I'm going to play an hour of 2 of disco for you next door if you come along to Xanadu at the Sydney Underground Film Festival on the 13th of September. Dress up and sing. Prizes for Best Dressed. We've got a cassette of the soundtrack to give away. Really, I mean, if you don't want to come along to that, I just don't want to know you. Details at maynard.com.au, where you can also, even if you're not coming and you're anywhere else in the world, you can download your Xanadu 18-month calendar, which starts next month. 18 months with Xanadu. What more could you ask? And people say this show doesn't give. It gives all right, particularly around the belly.
What do cockatoos do when it's raining so much? I don't know. There's one upside down in the tree, I kid you not. It's hanging upside down, flapping its wings. Maybe it's an alien. All right, so there's more of them. 15 cockatoos have decided to perch in the tree just near the studio. I can see out the window. And they're circling around